based on exports of oil, cocoa and gold. Though economists say power rationing has constrained development, the country has projected economic growth of 3.9%. Comfort Bilakinem, who owns the hairdresser's business in Accra, says it's almost not worth coming into work anymore.
I'll come without not working. When the customer comes, she will go. Where will I get money? Whilst we have children in the house, taking care of different things. Where will I get the money to pay school fees and stuff?
Ghana's power minister said he expected power supply to improve significantly by the end of the year as more projects come online.
Now to South Africa. The electricity woes have led to a national outcry for over mismanagement of the power monopoly, as the wealthier residents are coping with power cuts by the use of generators, gas stoves and heaters, as well as cookers. But for the country's vast poor population that's living on less than $1.25 a day, the government's failure to supply electricity has switched off their lives. The Voice of America's Tuso Kumalo reports from Johannesburg.
63-year-old Sheila Twala has lived in this house in the Johannesburg township of Soweto for the past 14 years. With no source of income, she is dependent on the government-subsidized electricity. But the current failure of the public energy utility, Eskom, to constantly supply her and millions of South Africans with reliable electricity has left her fuming.
We were very happy when we voted for our black government. We were sure that since it's now a black government in power, we will not suffer anymore because the apartheid government oppressed us. But now it's a pity because our black government is making us suffer.
Sometimes she goes for days, at times a full week without electricity. And there is no end in sight. Eskom, the government-owned monopoly, has admitted it has failed for more than a decade to invest, maintain and deliver new power plants on time. It says load shedding will continue until 2017 to prevent the entire energy grid from collapsing. Those who can afford it resort to using generators, gas cookers and even solar power during blackouts. But for the millions like Twala, there is no choice. The constant power cuts have rendered her electric stove useless. Her refrigerator has become a food spoiler and her washing machine sits idle. She now has to use a smelly and unsafe paraffin stove for cooking. When she has no money for paraffin, Twala picks firewood in the bush to cook, but says that is last resort.
This is extreme torture. The smoke fills my eyes. The fire is too hot, but I still must cook. I cannot even express the suffering that we go through in winter.
The load shedding has also impacted students living in poor households. 20-year-old Phineas Ngomane also lives in Soweto. He says constant blackouts have forced him and fellow students to resort to candlelight to study. This, he says, affects their efforts badly.
It's not safe, and sometimes, the work doesn't become neat. Our marks become subtracted for neatness. So it becomes very difficult, and even the liquid that comes out of a candle spilled into our books.
Like Twala, Phineas is also pleading with Eskom to switch the lights on and keep them on.
Joining us live via telephone is our correspondent in South Africa, Betty Dibia. Betty, thank you so much for joining us again on Network Africa.
Thank you.
Now, could you give us an update about what's happening concerning the power situation in South Africa? Has it gotten better or worse since the last time we spoke?
Well, as I said, some areas have it better than others. And for areas where it's better, it's a bit better because you have power more regularly. We had a schedule published by the municipalities, telling you here there won't be power at this time of the day. None for the whole day, here there won't be power and the power will be back, then it will be another area. So you have the schedule provided online for everybody to expect. Some areas, they don't even, I would say, they don't even experience this power cut. But there are areas that are not so formally planned that didn't really have power supply. One majority of these areas, you have places where informal connections have happened. Of course, some of these people will be affected, but it's a problem in many areas in the country.
Well, Betty, I hope you're in the better parts of that experiencing that actually has power supply. But
well, I'll say I am. I will say I am because you sometimes you're like, what is this power cut they're talking about? We've experienced for a few hours for some days, but it's really been good. This side of town, and it is not highbrow area, but there are areas that are really affected, and they get bits and bits. But ESCOM has promised that even the collapse silo things are being done out of from 600 megawatts that they had, it's been boosted to 3,000, apart from other efforts, that government is doing. But of course, that's the government line. But people are experiencing blackouts in some areas much more than others. It's not an even spread.
I'm glad you got it better. But now just to have to deviate a little bit, could you give us an update on what happened in the parliament when President Zuma gave his first State of Union address, which we already know didn't go so well last week?
Yes, the tradition is the president gives the SONA, the State of the Nation address, and then the members of parliament will have 2 days after, the days picked out, probably two or 3 days after. For 2 days, every member of parliament will make a presentation reacting to the State of the Nation address. Of course, that was quite hectic for some people. Some used quite hard words on the president. But he took it in his stride because they accused him of laughing when the fracas went on Thursday last week. And while they were really abusing the president, he was there laughing as well. So after the presentation of the members of parliament, the president will now respond, addressing some of the issues that they raised, which he did today. And I guess before he came on in the afternoon, about 2 o'clock local time, you had apologies that had to go out, went out. So a lot of people were already a bit calmer than you heard about the insect matter, people being called cockroaches, the court cases and everything. And he even commended Julius Malema for the way he conducted himself in his own presentation, and said the country is a success story, but they will keep working because they're coming from a very bad place. And they just have to keep the debate healthy and not be angry so that they don't lose the point. And we recall yesterday he was called a broken man presiding over, or the day before, presiding over a broken nation by Mmusi Maimane of the official, the biggest opposition party, that's the Democratic Alliance. And he took it in his stride. He didn't react accordingly, and he just said, look, as the footballers we say, play the man and not the ball. Let's stay on the issues, engage ourselves constructively. Where there's work to be done, we have to keep working, and that. He also condemned, you heard about the xenophobic attacks on some foreign shop owners some weeks back, because he didn't mention it during the SONA, and some people pointed that out. I remember the FF Plus chief whip, I think, who pointed it out during his own presentation, that he should have said something about that, because it doesn't, augur well for the country in front of other countries, friendly nations as well, because the migrants are here for a reason. I'm sure people wouldn't want to leave their country, just for living sake. So he condemned that today as well, and addressed all other issues to grow the economy and make the country much better. He addressed the ESCOM issue as well, efforts that are being made, all the different sources of energy that the country is looking towards.
Bessie, thank you
the
so much.
parade for nuclear energy as well.
We really appreciate having you on Network Africa. I'm really sorry I had to cut you short, but thank you so much for the updates of what happened in Parliament as well as the power situation in South Africa. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. Now, everyone loves sports, or at least football, but no one is ever pleased when racism becomes an element that's introduced into any sport. Now, the man prevented from boarding a Paris metro train by Chelsea football fans chanting racist slogans has called for them to be punished. The 33-year-old named Suleiman told Francis Le Parisien that these people, these English fans, should be locked up. Now, the video which you can see on your screen showed him trying to get on a metro carriage, but being pushed off, and a group of people could be heard singing, "We're racist, and that's the way we like it." The footage was obtained by The Guardian, which reported that the incident happened at a station in the center of the French capital on Tuesday ahead of the Champions League match. Now, based on that, I had to call our sports correspondent to join us on Network Africa, and he's seated right here, Yemi Adebayo. Yemi, thank you for speaking with us.
Always a pleasure.
What did you make of that incident?
Well, it's a shame. We've just been dragged back to the medieval time, and for a country that always takes the moral high ground, it's really a shame. I don't think it's a reflection of a bigger picture. I think it's just some guys who are probably not in the right frame of mind, because this is just pure racism. Once you deny anybody what's due them because of the color of their skin or where they're from, once you don't treat them fairly, it's racism. Although I think it's fair sometimes for us to differentiate racist comments and a racist.
But before, what I really like you to focus on is, sports is supposed to be a game that unites people. So why are we still seeing incidents like this over football?
Yeah. Football has not lost its power to unite people. That was what I was trying to explain by talking about a full-blooded racist and someone that makes racist comments. Look, it's not an African thing. It's a global problem. There are some places where some terms, some expressions are acceptable. Now, if you're not sensitive, what is acceptable to you can hurt someone else. And you go about, you don't care about the next person, you begin to do those things. That's racism. Like I said, football has not lost its power. Sports entirely brings people together. We smile, we hug ourselves, we rejoice. But you can't also not forget that some people just tend not to be good-natured.
But the man who was offended in this case is calling for authorities to arrest the racists, basically. I'm using it in quotes because they didn't really say, they didn't do anything, but they asked him to get off, basically. So what I'm saying is, they really can't be everywhere at once. Like this happened in a train station. So calling for authorities to make these arrests, I mean, is it not like asking for too much? They can't be here, there, and everywhere, trying to make sure that everything goes well.
There are acceptable patterns of behavior, and this is clearly unacceptable, and I think there should be some sort of punishment. I think this has gone on for too long because the authorities in the world of sports and in football have not really done much to stop people from behaving. There should be heavy sanctions, heavy fines. If these guys get their names, get where they're from, I mean, I'm very sure in the days to come we will get to hear some things like the club they claim to support has disassociated itself from these guys, and they said even if they are season-long ticket holders, they will be stopped from coming to Stamford Bridge or traveling anywhere with Chelsea. I think that's a place to start from.
I believe so too. Well, hopefully you will join us in subsequent editions and discuss this further. But now I'm being told to close, even though I would have loved you to say more. But thank you so much for speaking with us, Yemi. We really appreciate your time. That's it on Network Africa. Many thanks for watching. I'm Cynthia Are.